Hello, welcome to a tutorial on how to make your drums bop. There are different kinds of songs with different kinds of percussion. There's bops.
Oh, Lamar, Hail Mary, your marijuana times is hard. Pray with the hooligan, shadows all in the dark. Fellowship with demons and relatives, I'm a star. Life is one funny motherfucker. A true comedian, you gotta love him, you gotta trust him. I might be bugged.
There's bumps.
Beep out that 911.
Call me sometime. Please ring my line. You know I'll answer. Call me.
There's slaps.
Yo, who that boy? Who him is? Him that nigga, I swear. Stand out guy, him don't need no chair. Well, where the fuck him at? Cause nigga, I'm right here. I don't shop at the mall, all y'all just dumb motherfucker. I'm a goddamn artist.
And there's bangers.
We got history, got me feeling the nostalgia when you look at me. Thinking about what could've happened or what could've been. Finally your face, I know ain't that a sight to see. Take my time, then take your clothes off one more time, maybe.
There are different subgenres of those, but those are the ones in my percussion index. So, I'd say this is a bop because it makes your neck pop. It gives you scoliosis. It makes your neck do the thing that chickens do, you know? Just hear the drums alone. Now, how do we accomplish this? Well, there's just a few simple things we could do. Number one is to stay off the grid with your snares and hi-hats. And what I mean by that is if I zoom in here, this is the snare, and see how it's off the 2? Or is that the 1? Yeah, that's the 1. It's off the 1. Same with the hi-hat. And if I go into the hi-hat pattern, pretty much everything is off. If I zoom in enough, you could see. The first one is off. This one is a little tink, but it's very quiet. This one is way off. So is this one. And just goes on. And I'll play the snare and hi-hat together, just so you can see how it sounds with the metronome on. All right. So you could hear the snare hit right after the click of the metronome. I'll play it again. Yeah. So there's that. That kind of makes your beat chug. It's so far, like you could even exaggerate it even more by like pulling it even more back. So this is way too far back, but in some instances it works. I'm gonna move that back. Was it there? Yeah. Okay. So yeah, just if you lay your snare and your hi-hat so far back, it just gives it this kind of groove, and it makes your neck pop. Gives you scoliosis. So yeah, there's that with the hi-hat and the snare. Another tip with the snare, you want a really tight snare with this kind of beat. So to do that, let's solo the snare here. And if I take off the effects, this is how it sounded before. It's a pretty good snare sample, but I added some EQ, took out the low end just for mixing purposes. take everything I say here with a grain of salt, because I'm not that good at what I do in here in this music stuff. So yeah, take this with a grain of salt. But I boosted the highs around 20k hertz. Should probably move it here, and then boosted the highs around 10k, 8k hertz. So let's take everything out except for that. Without, with. So yeah, there's that. Oh, I see what I did here. So I wanted more frequency in the right with the transient of the hit, or the transient of the snare. So I used this and used it in the right channel and boosted that and that. So without and with, you could just hear it more in your right ear. I used a compressor on it, basic snappy compression. Definitely did not use a preset. And then here's a trick to make your snares wide. So you get a fruity stereo enhancer, and all you do is you tilt this knob to the right or left, whichever you want. So without and with. So it's a lot more wide, and it stands out more, which is what we want in this beat. So I'm going to play the beat again, just so you get a refresher. Wow, that was great. Okay, tips with the kick: keep it punchy, but also keep it on beat, or else if you keep everything too off beat, it just sounds gross. So I like to keep my kicks on the grid. I use tape compressor, tape, this plugin, Vintage Tape, to give the kick more grit. I used a basic kick compression on this, and I did some EQ. I didn't like some of the high end, but I boosted this part of the high end, and I boosted some of around 80 hertz to give it some sub. So yeah, that's what I do with the kick. And some more hi-hat tips. So you're gonna want to variate, is that a word? I don't know. The velocity on your hi-hats. So let's make a unique pattern here. Let's say I keep everything the same. I mean, it still has some, it still has a groove to it because I have the hi-hats so far back, but with the variated velocities, this is how it sounds like. It just makes it less boring. Yeah, so that's what I do with the hi-hats. Another hi-hat tip is to pan or automate the panning of left-right ear. So that's what I have here. To do that, you want to go to your hi-hat sample in the pattern sequencer, right-click on pan, and do create automation clip. And then without it, and with it. Alright, so this is how it sounds with the sample I used. So Last tip, it's with sidechaining with the Fruity Limiter. If you don't know what sidechaining is, basically it's whenever a sound plays, a different sound dips. So I could show that using Fruity Limiter. So this is sidechain to the kick. So whenever the kick hits, you're gonna see a duck here. So yeah, that's sidechaining. So tip with sidechaining with Fruity Limiter. So even though you're in the compressor tab, the limiter is still applying. So you're gonna want to change the attack and have it lower, and your release time is fine. But if your kick is above 0 dB, which it shouldn't be, it'll still compress using the limiter. So just in case, again, you shouldn't be at 0 dB with anything you're sidechaining. You just keep the ceiling up, and make sure the gain is reset at 0. Yeah, so I have a separate tutorial coming out on how to sidechain properly, so with Fruity Limiter. So there's that, and that's pretty much it. Hope you enjoyed. Hope this helped you to make your drums groove more and chug. Yeah, and here it is with the 808. That sucks because I couldn't fit an 808 in this well.